Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here, and welcome to another episode of Episode Rundown, where I, Shady Doorags, run down the episodes of Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug, and Cat Noir. And today we're looking at Season 3, Episode 1. Correct this time, Episode 1, Chameleon. Yeah, everybody told me in the last episode that I completely got the episode order wrong. The one time I decided not to go by the Netflix order, and the Netflix order was right. And then the order I look up is completely wrong. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Chameleon, which is the season 3 premiere. But before we get into that, a couple things I wanna get into. First of all, really sorry for these being so long split apart. The last episode was, what was it, months ago? I think it was, and it's just that real life has been getting to me, getting to my schedule really. And basically, whenever my YouTube schedule is affected, these miraculous videos are going to suffer the hardest because they're the lowest on the totem pole. I've said it many times in the past, these are like the easiest videos to make, but I don't want to flood my channel with these types of videos. These are things I do for fun, but they're not what the channel is really about. So, yeah, it kind of sucks because I'm constantly saying, "Oh, I'm gonna finally be able to do more miraculous episode rundowns," and then something always happens that makes me do less. I would like to do them once a week, I really would, but I have to get more other videos into the lineup as well. So I got a confession to make about this episode. I actually did watch this episode a long time ago. Again, I think it was months. Whenever the last Miraculous episode rundown came out, I immediately watched this episode after it. My do-rag is extremely crooked and it is driving me nuts. I watched this episode a long time ago, and I actually did record a rundown, but I wasn't too happy with the rundown I recorded. I felt like I didn't get some thoughts out properly. So for this one, I decided to re-record the rundown, and I also decided to rewatch the episode, which was tough because confession. I didn't like it the first time. I did not like the episode the first time I saw it, and I decided to rewatch it to see if like my thoughts still held up. And it got worse. It got worse. Why if you watch something multiple times and it gets worse, the more times you watch it, that's a really bad sign. Um, the word of this episode is contrivance. Everything about this episode on paper seems like the natural way the show should go. And again, I'm looking at this as a season opener. I am going to rename the other episode right now. I'm going to rename the title of that video. It's probably already renamed by the time I put this video up. But yeah, everything on paper that this episode does seems like a great idea, but its execution seems very contrived. So the episode starts with Marinette coming into the classroom, and everybody has switched seats. And Marinette thinks that Alia did it because the only seat left open is next to Adrian. I don't know how this works because it seemed to me there were no open seats in that class. Somehow there's like 3 extra empty seats now. So Marinette goes to thank Alia, and Alia says, because, you know, Alia is a really good wingman. I failed to mention that. No, Alia is a really good wingman. But Alia says she didn't do it. Marinette says, well, if you didn't do it, who did? And they do this thing I cannot stand, where they say a pronoun. I haven't seen CinemaSins in forever, but CinemaSins has a joke about, what is it, the pronoun game? Their running joke with that. They do that. They play the pronoun game where he's just like, well, she can't sit anywhere but the front, and they're going on this long run off sentence where they're not saying the person's name, even though naturally in any conversation you would have started by saying the person's name. You don't just assume. It's ridiculous to assume that Marinette knows who they were talking about. So Marinette, of course, gives in and says, who is she? And then who but our beloved Lila walks in. By the way, I'm probably going to call Lila Lyra before, at least once before the end of this review. But Lila walks in, and she's doing her usual. She's coming up with all sorts of lies, and she told the whole class that, hey, I have this thing with my ear, so I have trouble hearing, so I need to sit up front, just so she could sit next to Adrian, because Lila does have a crush on Adrian. So this happens, and Marinette gets really angry because, you know, she wants to sit next to Adrian, and she also doesn't like Lila because Lila's a huge freaking liar. There is one small moment where I was looking at Chloe to see Chloe's reaction, and when Marinette gets sent to the back, Chloe is actually smirking. That was interesting. We will come back to Chloe. We will come back to Chloe. But anyway, Lila comes in and Marinette makes a fuss and said, Miss Bustier, how come I have to sit in the back? And Miss Bustier says, you have trouble hearing, Marinette? Like, she didn't mean it in a smug way, but it sounded so smug that every time I hear, I just go. But she didn't mean it that way. And this causes this whole upset that makes Marinette look bad. And from this point, I see where they're going with this. It's like, oh, Chloe has kind of been pushed to, like, not friend, but she's no longer the evil character. We need a new evil character. A new rival, basically. And they're trying to make Lila go that route. So Lila is doing all this manipulation, and it's making Marinette look bad. And who but Hawkmoth, his scene comes up, his window opening scene. And I got excited for a slight second, and then I remember they did this before. They did this before where Marinette got upset, and Hawkmoth was going to target her, and then he didn't. And I was like, oh, no, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, blah, blah, blah. And he sends the Akuma to Marinette, and Marinette calms down. I think Marinette is, I want to say she's the only person in the show to calm down without having been prompted by someone. Because we have seen people lose their anger and whatnot, but usually somebody prompts it. Like before, Marinette was one, and her teacher prompted it. The people at Chloe's party were one, and Chloe prompted them to calm down. Marinette's the only one who I've seen she's the only one who knows how to take a breath when something's not going her way. But anyway, the episode continues, and Lila keeps telling all these lies, and here's where it starts to get annoying. Lila starts she's saying how she hurt her wrist and she can't carry her tray, blah blah blah. These are some dumb behind kids. These are some really dumb and I say this as somebody who is very gullible. I'm extremely gullible. Like, I believe lies very easily. But these are some dumb behind kids. Like, they all of them but Marinette believe Lila. And maybe one more who we don't see a lot in this episode, but pretty much everyone. I think even Sabrina is like fawning over Lila because of her reputation. And Marinette's like, she's completely lying. And Chloe's like, Chloe says, what's your deal, Marinette? Why are you so... Like, Chloe's... Not Chloe. I'm saying Chloe a lot. I've got Chloe on the brain because we will come back to Chloe. What's that girl's name? Marinette... I cannot remember her name for some reason. Marinette's best friend. Jeez. Alia, geez, why could I not remember that? Alia speaks to Marinette and says, what's your deal, Marinette? Why do you hate Lila so much? And as I'm talking, I'm gonna get angrier and angrier as I talk because these moments kept hitting. So Marinette says, okay, I'll tell you the truth. And she says, after last time we met with Lila, I talked with her, and I didn't talk. No, she didn't talk with her. Jeez. I followed her, is what she says. And I saw her talking with Adrian, and she was telling all these lies about how she was best friends with Ladybug. And Nino, who was also there, she's telling this to Nino and Alia. She's telling this to both of them. And Nino says, you spied on... You listened in on their conversation? That's not cool. Excuse me, Nino. You helped Alia... by distracting Chloe so Alia could take pictures. You don't really have any authority to get on your high horse about invading privacy. There's a fly in here. You don't really have like that kind of high horseness to do. You helped Alia. Now Alia in character hushes Nino because that is something she would do, is follow somebody and listen. And she says a reporter always checks their sources. This girl has been lying to you this whole time. Have you checked any of your sources, Alia? You can get an interview with Ladybug. You can ask her this kind of stuff. But anyway, she says, do you have any proof that Ladybug doesn't know Lila? The rage built here. Marinette could not think of a good thing other than I am Ladybug and I know I'm not friends with her. She could have said yes, because right then Ladybug came down and said she wasn't friends, because that's what happened. That is what happened. She says she followed them to the park and then doesn't tell the rest of the story. Ladybug came down and screamed at Lila, I'm not your friend. I've never met you. Don't lie about me. That is, and Adrian could easily back her up on that, but she doesn't think of that. She does not think of that. The intelligence of these characters is dumbed so down this episode to make Lila look good. So instead of doing that, Marinette says, I will prove it. She grabs a napkin, throws it, has the best arm to make a napkin go straight in the direction that she wants it to go. Lila catches it and she says, ha, there's nothing wrong with your wrist. First of all, Marinette, you threw a napkin. Why would that prove anything? It's a napkin. Maybe it was supposed to be like a really fancy napkin or something, like the kind you're not supposed to wipe your hands with. I doubt that. It's a school, but you threw a napkin. Somebody with a hurt wrist. How does that prove anything? But all the kids are like, oh my goodness, how did she do that? Why is her wrist not hurting? And Lila starts faking it. She says, ow, oh, my wrist. The reason I lifted it up was because when I was in such and such country, I saw the corner of a napkin gouge out someone's eyes. These kids believe this. Even if these are the most gullible kids in the world, kids are mean. There are kids who would not believe her just because they don't like her. That's what they think Marinette is doing. But there are actual people who would do that. All these kids believe that. And here's what she says. I lifted my hand to protect Max. Max! She was protecting Max's eyes. Of all the characters. You know what stands out about Max between most of the other characters there? Max is wearing something that protects his eyes. Why would she say Max? Why would she not say anyone else? And Max is like, oh, you saved my eye. You're a hero. Max, you're wearing glasses. You are wearing glasses. What are you talking about? She saved your eye. That napkin, even if the corner from a crumpled up napkin magically flew all the way towards you, which was nowhere near you, and it came straight for your eye, not even glanced off, it just came straight for it, it would not hit you. You're wearing glasses. So anyway, the other kids get upset at Marinette because it seems like she's jealous. This really upsets me because I've complained before, I don't like that Marinette is completely loved. Sometimes I don't like how they do it. I think it's bad for her character is what it is, because she stops feeling like an underdog. Marinette is so loved by everyone, she stops feeling like an underdog. And it becomes easier to root for those who are working against her, because she sometimes, it feels like she has everything going for her. But it is within the realm of the story that these kids love Marinette. These kids idolize Marinette because she's always helping them. That's what the season 2 finale was about. Marinette is always helping these other people. They jump at the chance to help her. Suddenly, they think she's capable of this intense, bitter jealousy, and that not only that, but they just completely turn against her. They're like, oh, way to go, Marinette. Come on, this is like Saint Marinette. Somebody should be questioning this. Somebody. It makes no sense for all these kids. They're only doing this to try and force Marinette into an underdog situation, to make Lila look like this amazing liar. She's not. It's so contrived. So Marinette storms off, and the interesting thing about this is that Lila still doesn't know why Marinette is so mad, because she doesn't know about the whole Ladybug. Lila never really met Marinette. She did meet her in the finale because Marinette was trying to prove her wrong about a bunch of stuff. But I don't think she ever actually met Marinette the first time around. So Lila follows Marinette, and she actually offers friendship. She says, "Oh, this happened because I'm sitting next to Adrian. You would have given anything to sit next to Adrian. Look, it's not worth fighting over a boy. We can be friends, and I can even help you get with Adrian." And that was actually a convincing lie. That was actually a really good convincing lie. And Marinette knows Lila is a liar. She knows beyond a shadow of a doubt, and she says, "We'll only be friends when you stop lying." And that's when Lila just comes out. She says, "I tell people what they want to hear. It's not my fault when people hear what they want." And she says this like very sinister, very evilly. She says, "When people hear what they want to hear, people want to hear what they want to hear. They're going to do it no matter what." And she says, if you can get in my way, that's fine, but you're going to wind up losing all your friends." And then she does a hair flip, which doesn't work with her hair. Like your hair is tied up at the end, and it doesn't get in your way a lot. But she tries to do the mean girl hair flip, and it just didn't work. So she walks off, or Lila walks off, and Marinette is actually very distraught. And this is kind of something I liked about the episode. Marinette really doesn't know what to do when it comes to Lila, because she even says this, I thought Chloe was bad, but Lila is so much worse. And Lila is what I would personally call bad or evil. You know, I've talked about this on BoJack Horseman. I do believe you can define bad or evil. I just don't think it's easy. But if somebody is doing something wrong for selfish reasons and they know it's wrong, they don't try to justify it. They know it's wrong. They are a bad person. They successfully do bad things, and they know it's wrong that they've done it. They are a bad person. And that's what Marinette is dealing with. Unlike Chloe, even though Chloe, a lot of times she knew what she was doing was wrong, she kind of felt justified because of her upbringing. Like no one encourages Lila to do this stuff, as far as I know. Like I've seen her living situation. Her mom doesn't know she's lying. Nobody knows she's lying and is encouraging her to do it. Chloe was encouraged to behave the way she did. And so Marinette is feeling hopeless, and Hawkmoth tries to attack her. Hawkmoth can't see Tiki when he's doing his vision sensing thing. I don't know, his vague sensing powers. And it's kind of weird, but Tiki is like warning Marinette about the Akuma. The Akuma comes, and Tiki says the Akuma only affects people who believe there's no way out, and you always find a way out. Wasn't told that, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily go against what we've seen the Akuma do, so fine. But I feel like we're never gonna get to see Marinette Akumatized. Watch that happen. But I feel like we're just never gonna see it, because again, it's game over if Marinette gets Akumatized, because there's no Ladybug, and Ladybug's the only one who can capture Akumas. So the Akuma flies off. But it doesn't affect Marinette. But Lila goes to Adrian, and Adrian also knows that Lila is a liar, because Lila did all that lying in front of him, and he saw her doing it with Cat Noir, so he knows. Adrian, oh my goodness, his good guy Adrian-ness, sometimes I love it, other times it's sickening. This time it was sickening. Adrian's like, "I'll still be your friend, but you gotta tell the truth. You gotta be you. Like, I can't with these lies." And I'm like, you'll still be this girl's friend after all the horrible stuff she did? All the lies she's told? Okay, fine. Like, I'm willing for him to say, I will forgive you or something like that. But he comes off just so incredibly nice. Again, it's sickening. I'm not going to say it's the wrong thing to do, but it is sickening, and it is certainly something I would not do. Lila gets really mad, and because Adrian's calling her a liar to her face, and he's basically saying, "I don't like you." So she gets mad. She sees Hawkmoth's Akuma. She grabs it and she puts it in her earring, and she makes the deal this time, which I found was interesting. Obviously, Lila is going to be a reoccurring villain. They've already established she's like they did that the first time she came into the show. So she becomes Chameleon, and her power is she can kiss someone, they fall asleep, and she can become them. She's also given like super acrobatics. It's a really dumb power. She goes to Adrian and she kisses him, asking him to forgive her. And then she pretends to be Adrian. Messes up Nino's. Just messes up Nino. I don't know why she did that. Like, was she trying to mess up Adrian's reputation? Like, she's just very mean to Nino for some reason, and then storms off. And Ladybug, Marinette's already transformed to Ladybug because she saw the Akuma, and she immediately recognizes that's not Adrian. So she follows this Adrian imposter. Adrian is not Adrian. Chameleon as Adrian is jumping across rooftops. Why do you think that Ladybug would not think you're Adrian? Like, he jumps up an Eiffel Tower, He jumps up the Eiffel Tower, and people are like, oh no, he's gonna fall. People, did you not just see him jump up there? Like, do you think a fall is going to hurt him after he jumped up there? And he goes, oh, I'm falling. Ladybug catches him, and this weird thing happens. Ladybug catches him. He tries to kiss her, and she pushes him off, saying, you're not Adrian. The camera shot is what's so weird about him. She pushes him off, so I want to say, being generous, he's at minimum 6 feet away from her. 4 feet away from her. If he was 4 feet away, he would be looking forward. The shot they have shows the floor in the background. So it looks like he's looking straight up, talking to Ladybug. And it's so weird. It's really, really weird. And then the next shot is him jumping forward. So again, he's not looking straight up. They just filmed it that way for some reason because they needed a background, I guess. But Chameleon constantly tries to kiss Ladybug, and it doesn't really do anything because Ladybug's too acrobatic. He goes off. He becomes somebody else. Meanwhile, Adrian wakes up because it only works on one person. It's kind of like Mr. Mime's power. Adrian wakes up after Plague tries to kiss him because it's an enchanted sleep, and he wakes up, becomes Cat Noir. Oh my goodness! And Ladybug falls for a trap, and Cat Noir jumps in front of Ladybug and is immediately knocked out of commission. This is how you start your new season. Cat Noir immediately getting knocked out of commission. Like, he turned into Cat Noir and then got knocked out. Useless. I was so happy that season 2 was making Cat Noir more useful. Like, trying to be affirmative about Ladybug needing Cat Noir and Cat Noir needing Ladybug. They immediately knock him out of the battle. And it didn't even have to happen. Cat Noir could have pushed Ladybug out of the way. He could have collided with Chameleon, but instead he jumped in front of Ladybug. It's the whole Piccolo meme again. Piccolo runs and jumps in front of Gohan instead of grabbing him and throwing him. Like, it makes no sense. It's so contrived. So Chameleon becomes Cat Noir, powers and all, and Chameleon tries to... Cat Noir is knocked out. Ladybug leaves him on the ground, knocked out. Horrible for Ladybug. And Chameleon follows. And freaking Hawkmoth is like, get Cat Noir, get his Miraculous. And Chameleon says, no, I want Ladybug. I'm so sick of these villains doing this. They have one superhero. Specifically, it's usually Cat Noir. And then they're like, I can get them later. Let's get Ladybug. It's... grab the ring. So Chameleon follows Ladybug. She does her lucky charm. He actually does Cataclysm. Ladybug figures out she finds a convenient shellfish store beneath her. They fall into it, and she makes Chameleon kiss the shellfish, so it can't move at all because now it's shellfish. They pry the thing open, which it looks like it kills her, but the miraculous restoration we know can like bring people back to life. So it turns everything back to normal. Ladybug immediately tries to make peace with Lila. Hey, I actually saved your life for real this time. How about we call a truce? Lila says truce, and I immediately know she's lying because that's what Lila does. She lies, and she specifically said earlier, I tell people what they want to hear. Ladybug wanted to hear truth. She wanted to... Now she can easily turn on Ladybug. whenever she needs to. So that's definitely going to come back. And she gives this really, it's a stoic but evil look. It is really weird because of the style of the show. It looks really weird. Lila tells Ladybug she won't lie anymore. That's immediately proven false once Lila gets back to the school, and Marinette catches her in another falsehood. Marinette has been catching Lila in these falsehoods, but Lila rebounds basically. She says, "Yes, obviously that's true, but this is why that's true, and what I said before is also true." That's what she's been doing. So she catches her. She's about to expose her, and Adrian says, "Yeah, she's lying, right? Yeah, I know too, but you shouldn't expose her. There's no point to it." Okay, Adrian says, "No good ever came from a villain going through more pain. As long as you and I know, that's fine." He says something else. Some exact words I wanted to get right, but the gist of it is he's saying they shouldn't constantly be trying to reveal the truth about her, because it's not going to do anything. It's not going to help. Even if they succeed, it's not going to help the situation. Okay, I agree with Adrian that Marinette should not pursue exposing Lila. One, because she's already failed too many times. It's just going to make her look desperate. It's like Dib and Invader Zim. It's just going to make her look desperate. She might as well. Just stop that. Unless the lies clearly become hurtful, she might as well stop that. Two, she shouldn't do that because she's just bad at it. She is bad at it. It's not going to make Marinette happy to expose Lila. She beat Chloe on several accounts, and beating Chloe never really made her happy. There are times where it actually made her sad. Beating Lila in this regard would not make Marinette happy. That's why I think she shouldn't pursue exposing Lila. What Adrian says, though, Adrian's reasoning, I completely disagree with. No villain ever stopped being a villain because by being hurt. That is false. That is 100% false. Okay? Punishment deters people from being a villain. It stops them from doing bad behavior stuff. It doesn't stop everyone, but it does stop them. Lila keeps getting away with her lies. That's why she keeps doing it. If she's exposed, she will have no choice but to stop, because no one will believe her anymore. And it goes against something I do believe to a certain degree, which is the way evil triumphs is if good men do nothing. I think there's a certain way to go about it, but saying that you should just let people do bad stuff because they won't change if you expose them, no, that doesn't sit right with me. I think that's actually a very bad moral to teach kids. I don't think everybody is obligated to go out into the world and be a hero and just tell everybody else how to live their lives, and being like Diane from BoJack and just getting into other people's lives and exposing bad people. I think you'll make yourself miserable doing that. But I don't like the notion that if you feel you should right or wrong, that you just shouldn't, because people aren't going to change. First of all, that's false. People do change. And second of all, I think that's a bad way of looking at it. I think it's a really bad way of looking at it. But anyway, they go back to the class, and Marinette sits in the back, but she decides to be at peace with herself. Adrian, being Marinette's biggest fan, goes up and sits next to her willingly. He doesn't ask. He just goes up there and willingly sits next to her. So Marinette is too busy daydreaming about Adrian. She doesn't hear her name get called, and the teacher is like, Miss Bustier is like, "Oh, so you do have hearing problems, Marinette? Well, come sit down in the front." I started hating Miss Bustier. This whole episode, I was hating Miss Bustier. Like, she made me laugh earlier when she was like, "Do you have trouble hearing?" But geez, Louis, it feels like this teacher knows exactly what she's doing, and she's just trolling these kids, and it's getting on my last nerves. So Marinette has to sit next to Lila, and Lila says, "Oh, it's a miracle! My hearing, it works now. I'm gonna go sit in the back." Okay, if your hearing works, why did you feel the need to go? It's such an obvious lie, and I guarantee you, everybody still believes her. Everyone, including that freaking teacher. She goes and sits back next to Adrian. Alia moves next to the main star of the show, Marinette. Jeez, I could not remember her name. Alia moves next to Marinette because she says she doesn't want to leave her alone. Adrian asked permission this time to move next to Nino. Okay, so we got Alia next to Marinette, Nino next to Adrian. Makes sense, okay? Suddenly, everybody else in the class wants to go back to their old seats. Why? Why? Like, everybody else, the only person who didn't have somebody sitting next to her was Lila. Like, why did everyone suddenly want to go back to their old seat? That made no sense. They just wanted to reestablish the status quo. Except I think Marinette's sitting in the front this time instead of Adrian. But that made no sense. Why did everyone want to go back? And then Lila winds up sitting next to drawing guy, I think it was the drawing guy. The Eve illustrator. Nathan, I think is his name. I don't know. She goes sitting next to him. Like, I don't know. That whole seating thing just, it made no sense. I think everybody was really happy with their seating arrangements too. But anyway, goes on to the next scene, and Lila's like, so you've chosen to be my enemy. We will be enemies. But, she's making her evil girl speech. And Marinette says, we'll see, and walks away. It's a really annoying thing to do, but if you're rooting for Marinette, you're probably applauding at her at that moment. And they kind of walk off, it's like, oh, these two are definitely gonna be rivals. Oh, just wait till the next episode. Okay, so this episode, as I've said, there are lots of things that just felt so contrived in this episode. But there is one major problem with this episode. I've been holding it in. But there was one major problem with this episode. Okay? You have Marinette, who is infatuated with Adrian. That's why she doesn't like Lila. Well, that's one of the reasons. She doesn't like Lila because she caught her in lies, but she only caught her in lies because Lila was flirting with Adrian a whole bunch. And also she mentioned Ladybug. You have Lila, who is also infatuated with Adrian. Although I'm not sure if she still is after this episode, but that's what this episode was about. Or that's how this episode started. She was infatuated with Adrian. I think actually she probably still is because she did move to the back with Adrian. So you have these two girls who are infatuated with Adrian. What is missing from this? What blonde person who is constantly fawning over Adrian is missing from this equation? Why have we gone 4 episodes with Lila without Chloe doing any interaction with her? That is utterly ridiculous. Like, I can see the first episode. They completely got away from Chloe before she even had time. And plus, it was a Lila-centered episode. I could see the other two. It wasn't about Lila's infatuation with Adrian. Lila just made a comeback. But this episode has Lila fawning over Adrian right in front of Chloe. Right in front of Chloe, who would not take that from any girl. Any girl she would not take that from. Every time Lila is like center focus, they don't include Chloe. That's what ticked me off. Like, y'all know I'm a Chloe fanboy. But at the same time, I think it's just like not in her character to let another girl flirt over Adrian like that. Like, that doesn't make any sense to her character. None. Even her changed character. That makes no sense. Like, Chloe would have freaking found Lila in the back alley and beat her down with her words because she can't do anything physical at all. That enraged me so much because I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to, like I said before, they're trying to make Lila the new mean girl. They're trying to make her the new Chloe. And when the episode first started, I kind of thought, yeah, she's doing a better job at being Chloe than Chloe. But then when I saw all the contrivances and how they were trying just so hard to make her seem like this epic mean girl, it annoyed me so much. It annoys me that the characters have to be stupid so Lila seems smart. At least with Chloe, even though, yeah, Chloe was very useless in season 1, at least with that, the characters acted towards her in a believable manner. Nobody liked Chloe because it was so obvious of what she was doing. Even when she was getting people to like her, like to vote for her, it was so obvious what she was doing. She was obviously a mean person. Lila is also obviously a liar, but these characters suddenly become idiots. They suddenly become, and Chloe doesn't have one line in this episode. Why would Chloe believe that Lila travels across the world with all these people and doing all these fancy stuff? Why did Sabrina abandon Chloe in the lunchroom to hang out with Lila? At least I think I'm remembering that right. I'm pretty sure Sabrina was with that group in the lunchroom. Why would Chloe let Lila sit next to Adrian and flirt with him constantly flirting with him about lessons, about piano lessons, finding him privately and talking about stuff? Like, why would Chloe, who is constantly with Adrian, constantly do that? That annoyed me to no end. So, like I said, this episode on paper has a great concept. Reintroducing Lila, making her the mean girl, establishing how her relationship with Marinette and with Hawkmoth is going to be. All of that on paper is what this episode should have done as a season premiere. That's all what it should have done. But the execution is so contrived. It is beyond contrived. I cannot believe anything that happened in this episode. It completely took me out of it. All of the contrivance took me out of it. Anyway, you're probably tired of hearing me say the word contrive, but that episode annoyed me. It annoyed me so much. Okay, I've been holding that in 4 months. 4 months to talk about that freaking episode. And like I said, it wasn't as bad the first time. I watched it the second time and I noticed more and more stuff that they got wrong. But anyway, we will continue next time with the next episode. I'm not sure what it is because I don't have that random list memorized. I have to go and rant it in what to me seems like a random order. But it is nice that I can finally move on to that next episode. People have been telling me about an episode called Cat Blanca, and they've been telling me what it's about, you freaking spoilers. And I've seen images of another episode that looks really interesting, where Marinette has a black outfit and Adrian has a red outfit. So that looks really interesting. I hope that's like an actual episode because I really want to see that. But anyway, we will come back to this when we can. And I will see you guys in the next video. This has been Shady Doorags. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.